All right, again, guys, sorry with my technical difficulties. I don't know what just bounced me off. We'll get this meeting started. Jennifer, you here? Is Jennifer here?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, honey, I know you have to be at another meeting. Would you like me to table your item first?
No, that's okay. I've got the other meeting covered. I'm good.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, though.
For making it happen. Okay, Nicole, I'm gonna just need a little help as far as I can't pull the agenda with my technical difficulties tonight, so I'll get this meeting open. Thank you, everybody. I'm Marilyn McDonald, Chair of Bridgewater Conservation. Pursuant to Section 20, Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, an act relative to the extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, the meeting of Conservation Commission for the town of Bridgewater will be hybrid and accessible to the public through remote participation in the greatest extent possible. There will be no public attendance permitted. Citizens who wish to tune into the meeting may do so via Zoom. Virtual meeting to attend is on the links, and things will be posted afterwards within 48 hours. As you know, this is being recorded now, and present with me is Harry Bailey, Vice Chair, Eileen Prisco, and Wendy Smith. And we have our staff, Steve, Nicole, and Jennifer is with us tonight. So great. I'm going to quickly read into the meeting. We have a public hearing of old business, abbreviated notice of resource area 350 Cross Street. Under old business is enforcement of 0 and 13 Vernon, no new business, and just conservation business of approval of minutes. So with that being said, let's go right into old business, please. Resource area 350 Cross Street. Is Rebecca here, or Steve, do you want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead, Marilyn, because there's only really one outstanding issue on this topic, and that is just making sure that the commission's comfortable via site visit between whoever still wants to go out and see the site at this point. I was out there. Yeah, I was out there Monday. The site was still pretty difficult to get a read on. I had seen the site previously, but that's beside the point. If the commissioners want to see the site, that is well within their right. So I will leave it up to Marilyn and other members to decide when they would like to do that and move forward.
Yep. I mean, myself, I know the commissioners, we definitely want to see the site. We need to, walk this area. I appreciate you going out there. But again, we make the call on this, so we have to see the site. I'm not going to go over this again. It's a clerical error that happened. We're sorry it happened. But since then, between the weather and members have been very sick, we're not going to get out there with this type of stuff on the ground in the way that people have been feeling. So anybody else with a comment on this? Harry, Eileen, Wendy?
No, I'm just, we have to get out there to get a good view. And, it's starting to warm up now finally. So over the next few weeks, hopefully we can do something. But
so again, my recommendation would be for a continuance. I would play it smart and skip, I wouldn't do the one in February just to err on the side of caution, but that's, just me erring on the side of caution. Any other comments from the commissions?
No, I suppose that's right.
I'll call you when I'm out.
All right, Rebecca, please.
Okay, so I'll request a continuance, but I would prefer to go for the next 2 weeks in the hopes that you get out there.
Okay.
I don't mind coming back in 2 weeks and asking again if I have to.
All right. Okay. No worries, Rebecca. All right. You'll send that in via email then to Nicole for a record.
We'll send it in tomorrow. Yes.
All right. Sounds good.
Can someone confirm the next meeting in February for me? Because I don't have a calendar.
The next meeting
24th.
24th.
Thank you.
We're on the 10th now, so the next meeting would be under the 24th. So you'll be continued to then. So anybody on now for this hearing on 350 Cross Street, please know that this is your notice now that is being continued to February the 24th, Thursday at 5:30. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. We're going to move right into the next item, which is what is it, 0 and 1300 Vernon Street. We have Jen on here tonight to give us some guidance and recommendation, please. I'm going to have Jen start.
Sure. Thank you guys for having me back. Since your last meeting, you voted to issue the enforcement order, which we issued and was, I believe, served to the property owner last week. I was not at the meeting, unfortunately, had a previous commitment, but I was told that the board discussed having the property owner come in for a hearing on fines. So that's what we're intending to do this evening. I believe the property owner is present with us this evening to have that conversation. So I don't know how the board wants to proceed as far as that goes. I'm happy to give you some information that I found out. I did a little bit of research on past fines. I talked with Mr. Antonero, and I have some information on that, but I can hold that after you, if you want to talk about the situation first, or how you want to handle that, Marilyn. It's up to you.
Go ahead, Rebecca, anything that you found out, because like I said, unfortunately, we haven't had to do this, so anything that, you know, it's been in the past, and then we'll open it up and hopefully can get this resolved would be my
Sure.
goal.
Sure. So when I spoke with Mr. Antonero, he indicated that the board, in his recent memory, the board had fined 2 situations that he could remember. One, the fine. So let me back up for a second. So under the Wetlands Protection Act, the commission has the authority to fine up to a maximum of $25,000. The local bylaw does not identify a amount of fines that you can do. So we're operating under the Wetlands Protection Act maximum, which is $25,000. So Mr. Antonero had recalled that there was a situation that the commission had fined in a situation $25,000, the maximum under the Wetlands Protection Act. But then in the course of the hearing and the conversation, they spoke with the offender, and the fine came down to, he couldn't remember exactly, but he thought it was somewhere in the amount of $8,000 or $9,000. And then a second situation was a project that was somebody, I think, filling a wetland. And he indicated that at the time the board fined them $100 per day until it was corrected. And then they worked out with the homeowner, once they came up with a corrective plan, that they would waive the fine, that the fine would not be collected. But if the homeowner didn't correct it in a certain amount of time, then the fine was to be collected. But I guess the homeowner did repair what he said he was going to repair, so no fine was ever collected. But the fine instituted was $100 per day. So those were the 2 instances that Mr. Antonero could remember. I could not find any additional information on fines in my research. So that's what I have to tell you on that.
All right, thank you very much, Jennifer. I truly
Thank
appreciate
you.
you being here tonight. I did receive a notice that both Mr. Stanley Kravitz and Michael Kravitz were notified by the constable. Do we have both the homeowners here tonight?
I believe Mr. Kravitz, Stan Kravitz, is here. I can unmute him. I can't unmute him. I'm not a host. Nicole, can you unmute him?
Okay. In the meantime, I'll
I'm
start
here.
with- I'm sorry, hello?
Yeah, I'm Stan Kravitz.
Hi, Mr. Stanley Kravitz. I'm Marilyn McDonald, Chair of Bridgewater Conservation. So on the matter of Vernon Street, just to give you a little history, there's some work that happened out there without an authorized approved permit from the Bridgewater Conservation Commission. Within 100 foot, there's also a perennial there. All we've asked was that be restored till any permit comes through. So we, have sent out multiple emails, first going through, I believe, Manny, who was your contractor. So our goal is just to get this resolved. I'll let you speak and see if there's any resolution we can do prior to opening it up to the rest of the commission. You go ahead, Mr. Kravitz.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time. I'm sorry I wasn't able to do your last meeting. I was in the hospital, and the other time I was traveling.
You're feeling better.
And I did contact the commission to say that I was not able to attend. They very kindly moved it forward. What's happened out there is I'd asked somebody who's trying to buy the property from us, and he is doing it subject to a permit. I asked him to push back from the street a short distance so that we could put a little bit of fill so we can make a place to park. He did that very nicely. In the meantime, somebody started a lawsuit against us. and our attorneys have told us to cease work. And then all of a sudden, I get a notice that we're within 100 feet of the wetlands. And we understand the proponent has put in for an ANRAD to determine the wetlands line. I've gone over with a wetlands expert to say that it's outside the 100-foot buffer zone of the wetlands. And then I went to Boston, the DEP, to determine the extent of the Rivers Protection Act. And we were well outside the 200-foot of what they consider to be riverbank. We took a plan into them and showed it to them that where that pile is, but we had to stop work rather than grading it off. Now, if the commission wants to say it's my responsibility to grade that pile and loam it down, I would suggest we wait until spring when we can put some grass seed in there. That would be fine. But I think where it's stable now, it would behoove us to wait until the ground thaws and we don't make a mess. But I am gonna put a place to park off our property because there is quite an extensive lawsuit that's being filed.
Mr. Kravitz, thank you for your input in that. And again, lawsuits and all that stuff aside, we're here strictly for the wetlands. I appreciate that you've, contacted professionals, but it's the Bridgewater Conservation that determines where that line is. And
Did you determine that line to say that pile was in the 100-foot zone?
We have to determine if that is, and we've had, people come in and there's a 200-foot riverfront there too. So the bottom line is, the work was done without a permit. And I appreciate you being here, and it sounds like you're ready to work with us. I'm going to also put this out to the commissioners now for anybody that has a comment on it. But, the pending ANRAD is a separate entity. This is, what was happening, prior to any permit issued.
Well,
So
what I'm saying to you is there a permit required for what I did? We didn't believe there was a permit required.
yes, because it's not that line of 100-foot has not been determined. The only one that can determine that line is the Bridgewater Conservation.
I'm not arguing with your authority at all. What I am saying is, if that's the case, then every time we do anything, we should come to you to say that we're not within a wetland, no matter where we are.
When you have a valuable wetland like that, that's close, it is up to us to determine, where that line is.
I understand it's up to you to determine where the wetlands line is, but at what point does the landowner allowed to do something on his property without coming to you?
So in instances like that, we recommend that you check in with our office and see what they think. That happens a lot. So that's what my recommendation would be. Anytime that you're doing any work and you think there's a wetland that could be possible encroaching on, is to come check in with the Bridgewater Conservation Office, and they'll recommend filings and how it's done. It's pretty frequent. So again, thank you for your input. And at this time, I'll just go around with the commission, starting with Vice Chair Harry.
Thank you. I go along with what Mr. Kravitz just said, if he does it. I mean, the pile is in the way. And I'm not going to stop him from making a parking lot. That's definitely needed down there. But the pile has to go.
Don't mind that at all.
We can wait till this spring.
Yeah, I'm on, the weather is a factor, and we don't want to cause any, damage out there to the wetlands. So Harry, thank you. At this time, Eileen, please.
Yes, that works for me, as long as at some point we make some progress. I could care less about waiting, as long as it's gonna get done. It would be really, really in everybody's best interest to work together. The only thing that I'm questioning is, wasn't there something at some point that said that the contractor was not allowed back on the property to put the pile back? That's why he didn't do it.
No,
On one of our letters back, so maybe now we can get clarification with Mr. Kravitz. If we look to set a date that we think might be a date we can start looking at it with weather permitting, then we can follow back up on that. Mr. Kravitz, are you in agreement with that?
well, what I'd like to do is as soon as the weather goes, I'd like to put some fill in. You identified me as the owner, and I appreciate that. And that's where the confusion is. And now that you've identified us as the owner, we will be happy to cooperate. What we'll do is we'll put some fill so we can get off the road and make sure that we're over 100 feet. Meanwhile, I understand the applicant for the other project is in the process of doing an ANRAD that's going through with you folks. This was totally separate from that. Because there's some electrical lines here that have to be removed and a bunch of other things up by the street. So that work will progress as soon as the weather breaks.
All right, Wendy, any comment from you, hon?
No, I mean, I guess as long as Mr. Kravitz is, gonna do something in the spring with it. I do have a question because, and Mr. Kravitz, forgive me, because I'm still fairly new to the board, so I have questions that I don't really understand sometimes. Do we have, is it all flagged out there?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so, yeah, I mean, I guess,
We're
I'd be,
well outside the 100-foot buffer zone of those flags, and we're well outside the 200-foot of the riparian.
I'm not going to get stuck on this argument, Mr. Kravitz. Again, that has to be determined by the commission. There's a pending INRAD that'll be determined at that time. There's a third party involved. We will determine that. Right now, our focus is getting this pile corrected, and we all
I
want
did
to work
ask
together.
Marilyn, I'm sorry, but I did ask the question. I kind of was asking it of us because I thought that I had seen some paperwork plans for the 0 and 1300 a while back, but I don't have any more of those plans, so I just wasn't sure if we had already done it.
No.
That's, I can address that, Marilyn, if you'd like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
so
Jennifer.
that's been, that's the ANRAD that's been before you for quite a while. At your last meeting, you continued it, I believe, to March 10th. I believe the proponent of that ANRAD is prepared to move forward on March 10th. With that ANRAD, if the commission is prepared as well. So the wetlands have been flagged. There was a third party that reviewed it. I believe there was some back and forth, and that's prepared to come back to you on March 10th. So the office will resend all of that information to you prior to the March 10th meeting, so it's all fresh in your mind. So we do have all that information, and you probably have seen it.
So
Okay.
Wendy, we don't know if we'll get a new plan when we open up the NRAD, when they're ready to go forward, or if they'll be going off the old plan. So we'll take it when that NRAD's in front of us. But getting back to Mr. Kravitz, so I think we're all in agreement that, we just wanted this worked out in good faith. So I'm okay with holding off the fines. I'll ask the rest of the commission how they feel.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, Mr. Kravitz, if you can either check in with the office when you feel that the weather is being conductive to have this put back in place, we would ask at that time that, a silk fence barrier be up and hay bale so that it just could be amazed back to its original form, and the wetlands have their normal silk fence and protection. So I would just recommend that you check in with the office when you think that it's weather conducive for you to approve that work. That would be great.
I will keep your office informed as we progress. The only thing that I would appreciate is we consider this as a separate item as compared to the ANRAD moving forward, because this part is on me.
I do consider it a separate ANRAD. I mean, I do consider it separate, and that's what I've actually been gingerly reminding people of. It is separate. It just, the flagging came up, which combined it, but it's definitely a separate issue, and it's treated as a separate issue. So thank you for bringing that out.
Excuse me, Marilyn, this is Jennifer again. I just didn't know if the commission wanted to schedule a time, maybe a couple months down the road, just to follow up, just in case, something falls through the cracks, or if we don't hear back from Mr. Kravitz, so that it's on the commission's radar screen so that they know to follow back up. If you wanted to just put something maybe like late April, just we can check back in if we haven't heard anything. The commission want to think about doing something like that?
I think that's a great idea. March can be kind of
I think that's a great idea, and I think I should give you some performances, which I'll submit to you as I see the weather by the 1st of March.
Perfect.
All right, perfect. Okay. And maybe a check-in on like the first meeting in April.
Well, what I'll do is I'll coordinate with your agent, and I'll give him a time schedule of where we're going to go.
All right, okay. All right, Mr. Kravitz, I can't thank you enough for coming in and helping resolving this issue. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anything further, you know how to reach the office, and enjoy your evening.
You too. Thank
Glad
you.
you're feeling better.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. All right, I don't, all right, the agenda, approval of minutes. I did read them. Has everybody checked the minutes?
Yep.
Jennifer, you still, I just wanted to thank you for making the time tonight.
Oh, you're welcome. Do you need me for anything else or are you all set?
I think we're good. And if Steve
Alright.
wants, if we can get Steve back on, that'd be great.
I think he might be close by.
Okay.
You back, Steve?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, everybody have a great evening. Thank you so
You-
much.
You
So I
too.
hope this meeting was shorter than the other one you were gonna have to do.
It was actually. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
No worries. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, Steve, you back with us?
I am.
All right, we're on the minutes at this point. So I've read the minutes. I'm just gonna ask if everybody has, and then somebody can make a motion, please.
Make a motion to accept the minutes from January 13th. Can we do both together?
Yeah.
Second.
And January 27th?
Second.
All right, here in a second. Any discussion on the minutes?
Oh,
No.
Hearing none. Roll call vote. Marilyn McDonald? Aye, that's me. Hello. Harry Bailey,
Aye.
Eileen Prisco,
aye.
and Wendy Smith.
Aye.
And Eileen, when you weren't here last week, I can't tell you how many times I still called your name out.
Thanks.
That roll call. All right. So, and then that was it under conservation business. Steve, anything else for us?
Yeah, I had one minor thing that actually came up when I was speaking to Wendy this week. I know you guys are probably sick of Vernon Street, but if you go down Vernon Street, and Wendy could probably describe this area a little bit better than I can. Wendy, it's that area that we were talking about on like the corner of Green and
I think it's Green and Vernon.
is it the intersection of Green and Vernon there by the corner? It's on.
Yeah, I took a picture of it the other
Pond.
day. Mhm.
Okay, so I'd like you guys to all, if once you get a chance, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can park on the side of the road. You can oversee it and look over. We got someone that's been cutting trees there, right on the pond's edge. The difficult thing about this one is I don't have who. I've just been told by a couple different entities over the last couple weeks that something's going on out there. The first time I went by, I didn't see anything. And then Wendy said, oh yeah, I did notice that cutting out there. So then I went back out and I saw the same cutting. So if you guys want to go take a look out there, and I'm going to try to brainstorm ways about trying to figure out sort of what's going on there, because it's cutting that is actually within the wetlands. Some of these trees are actively growing in the water. It's part of Sturtevant Pond, and it's part of that whole ecosystem that stretches down along Snows Brook. So in order to remain consistent, I want to focus on that area as well. It seems like
All right, so
Snows
Steve, I
Brook's
ha-
got
I-
a target on its back.
I have a suggestion because this, sometimes, now Eileen, that's an area you go by, correct me if I'm wrong, almost every day?
Every day.
All right, so obviously, if you're passing that every day and you see something,
Yep.
call Steve, myself right away, we'll be there.
Yep.
My
Sure.
other thought is, why can't we put like a sign in the wetland saying we know activity is going on, please be advised that this is illegal and we are monitoring.
Probably at this point, it's just cost of producing the signs.
I mean,
If we had the budget for it, I'm sure we could come up with something pretty quickly and on those areas that, because it seems like this becomes an issue in areas that are easy access
Yeah.
and next to residential properties.
I myself can also look at doing the sign because that is a quick way to say, eyes are on you. We
Mhm.
know something's going on out here. It's gonna be monitored. Knock it off.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think that overall awareness is a big piece of it. It's just a question of cost and
Right. So like
with
I said,
everyone's tight budgets, but who knows? I mean, with this ARPA money, maybe we could save the environment at the same time too.
Maybe.
It's paying for a lot of stuff. So maybe some signs for the Conservation Commission can be put on the list.
Is that in the area where that gentleman sells the firewood all the time?
You know what, Harry? I think you're onto something there.
Yeah,
I
I
think you-
know.
I knew it. Yeah, I figured that.
Yeah.
So
He's been
because
doing
I
that for
had
years.
someone had mentioned that when they had called about it. and I had misplaced where the work was actually going on. So yeah, we're gonna have to get to the bottom of that one, because the last thing we all need is someone harvesting wood from wetlands to sell as firewood.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Oh
just
my.
a,
Yep.
that's just a waste of resources and important vegetation.
Yep.
And I mean, if
Mhm.
there's anybody listening on this, that, you know, if you do see something, it's please pick up the phone and call the
Yeah.
conservation office. And there's always somebody around, whether Steve's local or not, myself, Harry, my hospital schedule is lessened. So right now there's somebody around, you know, and again, Eileen's very local there.
Yep.
So, you know,
Darren, I now have a new vehicle so I can roam around without, and get from point A to point B and back to point A with no problems, so.
Well, that's good. It sounds like everybody's finally on the right track towards getting healthier and getting around and getting back to life as we knew it.
Oh,
Yeah,
a
right.
long haul.
It's been, you know, it was a tough month of December, and
Very.
January was not so forgiving for many of us either. So
Nope.
I'm gonna add one more thing in here.
sure.
Where I've been on the Conservation Commission for many years, I do believe there was an $18,000 fine handed out. I know the person that it was handed out to, and I'll ask him if that's correct. But I
Okay.
believe it was $18,000 he paid.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, my
We don't have
experience.
to go that route.
Yeah, I mean, my experience with fines is it's a case by case basis. If you have an applicant or a violator who the only way to make sense and get them to do something about a project is money, then that's the avenue you use. You know, in some situations, coming up with a plan or just talking about it can work. I mean, who knows? I mean, they're all just like any notice of intent or any filing that comes in front of us. They're all case by case basis, and we have to really read both sides of the equation between the commission and the applicants and what's going on around them in order to make these decisions. So it's not always just cookie cutter like, oh, let's just issue fines over there, because that might not even be effective. If you offer violators an option to correct the work, sometimes they'll take it and they'll try to save themselves a little bit of money.
Yep.
And do a better job. So it's just something to keep in mind. I mean,
Yep.
we just, you know, the goal at the end of the day is the health and performance standards of the wetlands. So
Absolutely. So Steve, why don't we check in next week on that
Sure.
area of Vernon and Green and see if we, anybody's come up with anything.
okay.
I'll make it, like I say, a focus to, maybe I'll check on Eileen,
Yeah.
but she's on the mend, so she's doing good.
Long mend.
Amen, sister. Amen. All right.
Yep.
Anybody have anything else for the commission? All right, then you know what motion we will take.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in
Third,
favor?
whatever.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thanks a bunch.
Bye.
You guys have a good night.
Yep,
Dude,
bye-bye.
bye-bye.
You too. Bye.